Welcome back to another episode of This Old Shop. Today's the big day. We get to start on the demo work, but we have a little bit of work to do before we can get to the fun part. So let's get it done. Before we get into our demolition, we got a quick rebuild here. Actually, we're just going to doctor it up a bit. This thing was hitting the front end, it pushed the radiator support back, and that battery terminal, the positive side, is just millimeters away from the fender. If it didn't have paint on it, it'd probably be shorted out. So we just have it hooked up to our mobile frame rack, and we're going to pull it out. We're going to stuff a piece of carpeting and padding in here between the terminal and the fender to hopefully insulate it. You know, should the truck ever hit anything in the future. So if my plan works, it'll be an insulator. If my plan doesn't work, it's going to be kindling. One way or another, it's going to be used for something. Release our mobile frame rack here.
Oopsies!
Well, would you look at that? We added a drive-through to the parts department for efficiency. Go right in the office and pay when you're done. So the first wall was planned. The second wall was not. The truck had no brakes, so I had to go fast enough to get through the wall, but not so fast that I couldn't stop on the other side. I forgot to carry the two. The calculations were off. We went through two walls. So luckily, we kind of prepared for that as a backup plan. Safety experts, don't come for me. We did shut off all the power to this wall, all these outlets. There's nothing in here that's live. Pizza Girl was standing by with fire extinguishers and the Bobcat in case the building fell down and I couldn't get out. Turns out truck still ran and drove it, never even shut off. Didn't take much to get through this wall. It was just like an erector set. And no big deal. We were trying to miss that beam over there, and we did. And we didn't want to hit that beam right there, and we didn't. We still had one more wall to slow us down before the wall that really mattered, which is the outside wall, was in play. So luckily, we stopped here. So we just got a, well, head start. We're going to take this wall down anyway. We just took it down a little sooner than we thought we were going to. Somehow, this camera, this is the wire for this camera up there, it survived, never stopped recording. So that's how we have all that footage from in there. So let's get this truck out of here and, well, start tearing the rest of the building down. I don't think we're gonna use the truck anymore. Maybe we will. We got a Bobcat too. So let's start tearing some stuff apart. Now you can say what you want about GM trucks, but I think this thing did pretty good for going through a wall. It had no front bumper on it. I had taken it off earlier because it was bent back into the tire from the original accident. And we're going to have to pull that radiator support back again, but it was rusty and it still held up pretty good. I wish I could say the same for the wall. I thought 20 feet or so would be enough to stop, but I guess it wasn't. Go ahead, all the frugal people. Complain about all the conduit that I wasted. And 2x4s. Small price to pay to have a little fun. But I don't think I'm getting my security deposit back. And inside that beam right there is our support for the actual building. All this stuff in here is not structural. Except for that first beam that we wanted to miss, that's just holding up the second floor. Not the actual building. Worst case scenario, the ceiling would have fell down on me. There's our camera, still recording. Now comes the cleanup. We're going to get rid of the rest of this wall. So I'm just going to disconnect the electrical that's in it. Cut the wires, unscrew the conduit. Hey, who knew that they had 45-degree connectors? They do now. Well, it appears this conduit is not going to come apart as easy as I thought it would. Of course, it came off at the other end somewhere. Just not where I want it. That one didn't come apart. There's no chance for these. But I'll try anyway. I'll need to go get my conduit separator tool. There we go. Got the easy one. Now that we've established dominance, these other conduits should come apart with a little less struggle. Now we just need a little snippy. Really hope the power's off. Otherwise we're going to be testing that circuit breaker. Now we got one 2x4 up here that's just held in with 2 nails, so we might as well pry that out of there. It's the last one that just wouldn't give up. Like that one guy at work that just takes his job way too seriously. Now with a little help from Bob the Gato, we're going to slide this 2x4 over. It's around the conduit. We need to get that piece of conduit out of that box. And it came right out. Now I'm going to attempt to get the rest of this wall to come with. Seems like it's freed. I don't know how it's going to work. Just sitting on forks, it's pretty long. A grapple bucket would have been nice. Could have just grabbed it and pulled it out of there, but unfortunately I don't have one. I've got a regular bucket, which would probably be even less useful than this. This is like a very expensive claw machine. Nothing. Okay, we're going to try again. I want something out of this claw machine. Not leave until I get something. There we go. 2 2x4s. That was my prize. I believe I found part of the reason our wall wouldn't come with us. There was some hidden conduit underneath the drywall down here. I didn't see it. So when we took the little 2x4 out of there and a couple of pieces of drywall, I could see what was in here. So we'll just separate it. And hopefully we'll get the majority of this wall out of there. We'd already cut these wires. They went up to that box. I don't know where this other one goes. But it doesn't go there anymore. Sometimes having heavy equipment doesn't make your job easier. We're just going to do this the manual way. Scott powered. Drag the rest of this wall out. And because I'm all about efficiency, we're going to sweep the floor at the same time. Now we have our first subcontractor working on the job. It's Scott's Kitchen and Bath Remodeling. We're going to carefully remove this countertop because we don't want to destroy it. We have our countertop removal tool. Gently slide it underneath the countertop and lift. One little nudge. And our countertop is off. I was just going to destroy this thing, but I think I'm going to put it off for a little bit. It's a fairly well-built counter. Maybe it's just the hoarder in me, but I think we can stick it out in the shop and at least use it for time being. I mean, we're gonna have to put some legs on this side because it's affixed to the wall and that's what's holding it up. So once it's no longer affixed to the wall, it's gonna fall over this way. So we'll just put some legs on this back side here and we'll have a workbench to use until we get something that we're gonna leave in there permanently. It's here, why not use it? So we'll see what happens, but I think we can get out of here at least 80% intact.
Now we're gonna take down our barn door, a bunch of lag bolts across the top, and a couple of roofing nails. That's all the bolts. Now for the nails.
Timber!
We got a piece of conduit upstairs that we uncovered when we took our flooring off. So we're gonna pull the lock rings out of our boxes on this side so we can take that piece of conduit out of there. It connects the office lights together. Which, as I found out, used to be all one office. Kind of suspected that, but after looking at how that wall was put up, the second one we drove through, it made sense. So now we're in the parts room. It's the other end of the conduit. Now we'll pull off our brackets that are holding it to the joists. There's a couple brackets and a couple nails that they hammered in halfway, bent over the conduit. Guess they ran out of brackets. First we have to hammer the nails through a little bit so that we can grab onto them. And now we got our conduit out of there. Just gonna pull our wires out of there. And try not to fall through the ceiling. Now we're going to pull our outlet and switch cover off. Not sure why I deem this to be important right now, but for some reason I did. And that number 2, it marks that there are 2 conduits that run down from there. So we're trying to figure out where the wires went.
Not satisfying. Ah! It's not tempered.
As you can see, our dumpster finally arrived, and the first thing I wanted to throw away were those pieces of glass that the last tenant left for us. So that's what I did. I was hoping they were tempered and would shatter, but, well, they didn't. It was not as exhilarating as I had hoped. Now we're going to pull down our MVP here, the camera that just won't quit. We'll find it a safer, less abusive home. I'll pull the wires out. You can unplug them. Yeah, why unplug them? It only runs across the room. We'll just pull it all the way out of there. And go put it up somewhere else. Then we're going to go upstairs so I can practice my balance beam skills. I've had to join the circus to fund this little project we got going on here. This is actual footage of what goes on in every apartment above yours at 3 o'clock in the morning. Maybe it's because I detest drywall, but I found this to be the most satisfying part of this demolition. After the fun part's done, comes the cleanup. So the pizza girl and I are going to load everything in the bucket of the Bobcat, and I can go dump it into the dumpster. We're going to pull the drywall off of this wall because I want to see what's going on in there where our conduit goes. Just a little wiggle and pull, kind of like a trim panel. Hopefully we can get it to come off of here in some bigger pieces. Not so far though. There's one. The pizza girl's sweeping the floor. We've been sweeping the floor a lot because I don't want any nails in the Bobcat tires. We'll run over with a magnet too, but better to sweep it up first. And we can pull our railing for our second floor off of here. Not going to need it anymore. Now I want to get rid of the bridging between the joists, so I found the most violent and fun way possible. I'm just going to knock them out of there with the crowbar. I guess the most fun way possible would have been to go up top and play golf, but these things are pretty shaky as it is. Once I take this support out of there, they're going to be really shaky. So we're just going to do it from the ground. That one was putting up a fight. I was going to leave them in there and try to take this down as one big piece, but I was pretty sure that it was not going to come out as one big piece, so just break it apart now and be a lot easier to handle in little pieces. Okay, I'm tired. That was officially my cardio for the year. Bring in the heavy equipment now. Each end of the joists are just toe-nailed into the walls, so I'm just going to lift them up and pull those out of there. Of course, at this end, we got that rim joist, or the header, that it's also nailed into, so we're going to pull that out of there at the same time. Actually, we have a double header up. So we're going to pry that off of there. We can actually see our nails. And that's off. I'll just pull out whatever toenails are still left in there. Just slide them over, they should fall through. That's my plan anyway. Once we have one side down, we'll just go ahead and pull them out of there and drag them over to the pile. And, of course, sweep the floor again so we don't have any nails on our tires. Put our last two over here. A little bit more room to work in here now that we can get the Bobcat in from our skylight we just installed. Taking a little bit more of the wall than I wanted to. At least right now. So since the part we took down already wanted to stay together, I adjusted my strategy a little bit. We left our bridging in there. See if we can just get this whole thing to come down in one big piece. Once it's on the floor, it's a little easier to work with. So we can lift the top of the wall off of there. Of course, we can only get to part of it. And we had a casualty. One joist didn't make it. Push out our toenails. can't lift up on that side because that's an I-beam that they're under. So they're kind of trapped in there. Kind of hoping I could just pull it all away from that I-beam and they would just fall in on the other end. Kind of like that. Pull our header off of here. Then we'll throw all these in a pile. Now our subcontractor from Scott's Kitchen and Bath Remodeling is going to try and get this counter out of here for us. Hopefully in one piece. It's free from this wall. Not free from the other wall. Pry it off the floor. It is nailed to the floor. Got to get it up a little bit so we can slide our forks underneath it. We have to get this counter out of the way so we can get to the rest of our joists up there. Lift up on this side and hopefully pull whatever nails are holding it into the wall out. We don't want it to fall over backwards. We can grab it in the middle. I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to do with it. Can't turn it sideways to get it through the doorway. Just set it down up against the wall here. Then we'll drag it out the door and pick it up once it's in the shop. Just push. Plan. Keep going. Keep pushing. Go to the edge. Go about another 2 feet and then set it against that wall. Okay, that's fine. And now for the final stage of parts counter Tetris. I can get the middle of it. Should be okay. Without the counter in the way, now we can get to the rest of our joists. Give them a little push. Hopefully we can pull some of those toenails out of there. We'll just bring them back down this way and see if they all fall through. We cut the other end of our board here with a Sawzall, and there's only a couple nails holding it in. I think I can handle this without the help of the Bobcat, so we'll give him a break. And we got a little drywall to remove. I believe that's all that's holding this wall up at this point. I had to be careful around this because of the conduit in it. Don't want to tear it up just yet. Now we get our last joist out of here. There's always one. This one was trapped inside the beam, support beam for the building. We'll just lift it up high enough to clear that beam and pull it out of there. Now to remove what's left of this pathetic excuse for a wall. There's a couple of nails into the concrete, so we're just going to hit the edge of the 2x4 and break the nails, or break the 2x4. Either way, I don't care. Off is off. We're able to get under it and just lift up. It was about 50-50. Some nails pulled through, some came out. Nudge this little piece on the other side of our conduit. Fold over that 2x4. Now we're going to give ourselves a little headroom in the doorway. Now for our one last piece of wall, break it loose from the concrete. Now we're going to knock it off of the beam. They nailed it into the beam. There we go. Now all we got to do is clean up our mess. Scott's kitchen and bath is back again. We're going to put some legs on our workbench. Gotta make sure it's level first. Shove a wedge in there until it's level. That looks good. And we cut some legs. We're just going to hammer them in there. Didn't have any deck screws, at least not at this point. So we just had to use some nails I found laying around in the shop. I did eventually find some deck screws. Made my life a whole lot easier. Cut our next leg. Hammer that one in there. And we're going to put a couple more in the middle as well. Looks pretty good. Now we're going to go stuff it up against the wall. Just drug everything that was in front of it to the sides. We'll put it all back on there later.
So we put our countertop back on our repurposed parts counter, and then we took all the junk that was on the floor over here and stacked it on our little workbench here. Instead of being spread out all over the floor, it's now being spread up the wall, I guess. We didn't organize it at all. We just kind of threw everything up there, and at least it's out of the way. We'll go through it, put stuff away whenever I have a chance. Right now, it's basically just giving us more floor space because we were losing. It was almost out to about here of just junk. So we were losing about 3 car spaces. That's how I measure everything, car spaces. We got a couple more things to throw up there, but it didn't cost us anything to make that. That's really the wood that we took down from the office. Some of the 2x4s were broken from, I don't know, some crazy driver that drove through the wall. We really only had to pay for the deck screws that I screwed it together with. It's only gonna be there long enough for us to finish this construction, and then we're gonna get rid of it. So it's only temporary. It'll work just fine for that. And before all my thrifty friends come for me in the comments, we have managed to save all of these boards. All the nails are removed from them. We even have a pile of scrap nails, so we're gonna get money for recycling those. That's the pile we still have to do. That's our original pile. We're gonna go through those and get a bunch of nails out of there and save what we can save. And a lot of people were really concerned about that first wall that I took down. Those boards are back there. They're already done. So we have a bunch of 2x4s that we can use for whatever we need. We can make pallets out of them or whatever. These 2x12s, I don't know what we're gonna do with them, but we're gonna have a bunch of them. We still got more. So, I don't know. Doesn't hurt to have it. It'd be really expensive to replace it. Worst case scenario, we stick it in the corner and start hoarding it. Because why not? As promised, we have our first vehicle in the showroom today. And as expected, I didn't clean it before I put it in here. Now, I guess you could technically argue the truck was the first vehicle in the showroom. This is the first one we put in here on purpose. It's our 2003 Grand Am GT, the winter beater we did a couple years back. What more appropriate car to put in here than a Grand Am, and what more appropriate Grand Am than, well, my most popular one. It's gonna hibernate here for the summertime, and it'll come back out in the winter when the salt is out and it's its time to shine. Unfortunately, we're out of time for today, so we're gonna have to call it quits on this video. We got the easy part done, and if you don't think that was the easy part, well, you might want to subscribe because it's about to get a whole lot more difficult. When we go in that part of the office, it should come down pretty easy with the exception of that beam up there that looks like it was repurposed from something else because it's not straight. And they just said, hey, I got a place for that. And there it is. So it's got to come out of there. It's pretty heavy. So we're gonna have to see how it's attached. Maybe we get lucky and we could just unbolt each end and lift it off with the Bobcat. We got to do this without hurting the Bobcat, the building, or ourselves. So we'll do all that next time. Once that's out of there, should be pretty straightforward. A lot like this room, actually, probably pretty easy. But then it gets a little more complicated when we start going into the other rooms because we're saving parts of those and we have to work around the HVAC over there. So that's going to get more complicated. The only complication we really had in this room was our electrical here. And the problem with that is we got our wire that comes from the panel, comes up to here, goes to our switch for our first row of lights, which is now our second because we put our first row in there, and then comes down, goes up over there to the lights, which means that in order for us to power our lights, we need to make a connection somewhere over here, and that would be in the ground because this isn't going to be here. Well, if it's in the ground and you got a box down there, you're just asking for trouble with water and everything else that we have in a shop getting in there. We're going to have problems. So we just need to avoid the problems altogether, and we're going to have to probably run a new conduit all the way out here. And then we're going to actually run it over here so that all of our switches will be in one place. Right now they're all over the place. There's one there, there's ours is just dangling there, that one doesn't count. And then there's more over there for the other rows of lights. So right now you have to walk all over the shop when you're leaving. We're gonna make it so that all the switches are right here. When you're walking out of the shop, you can just turn them all off. When you walk in, turn them all on. Nice and convenient, nice and simple. You don't forget to turn lights off, everything's done. They are on motion sensors, but still would like to have them on a switch as well. So we're going to hopefully next time get all that out of there and start on our next room. So thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.